Salam and good day. My name is Karol Amir from Group 4. On today, me and other group members will present the answers to answer the questions given for this video project. First of all, we move on to first question, which is define capitalism and socialism economy. Capitalism is an economic system where individuals make all the main decisions without any government intervention or control. Thus, this economy is characterized as economic freedom, where an individual can be the buyer, seller, employee, or employer at his or her own wish. Meanwhile, socialism is an economic system where all the economic decisions are made by the government or a central authority. There will be no private property rights since the government officially owns all resources. Now we move on to the second question, which is explain four characteristics of capitalism and socialism. First characteristic of capitalism economic system is private ownership of resources. In this characteristic, every individual in the country has the right to acquire private ownership of resources. Private individuals or private institutions can own resources. They can accumulate property and use it as they choose. For example, if Harith wants to buy a bungalow in Taman Penang, he can purchase the property if he has sufficient money. Harith also can buy more properties depending on his purchasing power. Next, the other characteristic for capitalism economy is freedom of enterprise and choice, where individuals are free to own resources as well as to establish any enterprise of their choice. They are free to trade, invest, and organize to produce within the country's legal framework. For example, if Didi wants to open his own business selling mobile phones, he has the economic freedom to operate this business. Other than that, government intervention is also one of the characteristics of capitalism. In this economic system, which is capitalism, there is very limited government intervention. The country's role is to stabilize the economic conditions of the country. Last but not least, another characteristic of capitalism's economic system is consumer sovereignty. Consumers' taste and preference will affect the production of goods and service. Producers have to produce goods that meet the consumer's taste and preference.
Okay, so I'm Habibah Jasliwara, and today I shall continue where we left off, which is explain four characteristics of capitalism and socialism, and I did the socialism part. And this question contains 16 marks. To get a total of 16 marks. Okay, so the first paragraph, we need at least maybe it's counted 2 marks. So we give them the first point of the first characteristic of socialism economic system, which is private ownership of resources. Okay, and then second, we elaborate the point for B. Elaborate a little. So I elaborate by stating that the state or government owns and operates these services for the benefits of the society. Okay. So the third, just to make sure that we get the 2 marks, we can mention about the purposes of the first characteristic. And so I add 2 purpose just in case, which is to ensure that everyone, whether rich or poor, has equal opportunities, and also take this characteristic, they take advantage of the opportunities available in this country. Okay, so next is the second paragraph of the socialism point. Okay, we can give the second point, the second characteristic of socialism economic system, which is central control and ownership. And then next, just like before, we elaborate a bit, and then by elaborating that the government was involved in every field of economic development. And if you're not sure, that elaboration is cannot be counted as the other 1 marks. So you can add examples to explain more of this second characteristic of socialism. So I add example that the government has authority in manufacturing, delivery of goods and services, and consumption. See, so there is 3 just to cover 2 marks of second paragraph. In the next paragraph, 2 marks also, and then we give them the third point, which is price mechanism of lesser importance. So we elaborate this point a bit, just like the other 2 before. Okay. So the government itself that regulates the prices, not demand and supply in socialism, because market forces in socialism is not necessary. So the third, we add examples or illustration to illustrate further understanding of this characteristic. So I add examples about public interests are focused while the private profits are not. Okay, so the final paragraph, we gave them the last point of socialism economy system, which is the central planning authority. And this I suggest that we elaborate a bit by stating the characteristics, main goals or main purposes. So I give this question two main goals, which is this authority plans and allocated resources between current consumption and investment for the future. And then the other one is the authority is in charge of handling economic decisions for the society. For me, thank you.
Hello, I am Amirul Ashraf and I'm going to talk about merits and demerits of capitalism. Firstly, I will explain about merits of capitalism. The first merits of capitalism is production according to the needs of consumer. Producer produce goods and services that consumer want, and this maximize the needs and satisfaction of consumer. The second of merit is economic freedom. Economic freedom means that the right to earn and retain property. It also means a freedom of enterprise and a choice of occupation. This will lead to sourcing of countries' manpower from different sectors. Therefore, there is flexible functioning of different units of production. Now, I will move to the demerits of capitalism. First demerits of capitalism is inequality of distribution of wealth and income, since there is no government intervention in the market economy. The system of private property widens the gap between the rich and the poor. Those who have wealth can obtain resources and start businesses, while poor only have their labor to offer. In other words, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. The second demerit is inflation and high unemployment. It is only because disparity of demand and supply of labor occurs when it is governed by the invisible hand. Business fluctuation cause high unemployment rates during a depression.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Musma Karbila. So I'm going to discuss about the merits and demerits of socialism economy. So before I start, for your information, socialism is an economic system where all the economic decisions are made by the government or a central authority. There will be no private property rights, since the government in socialism economy will officially owns all resources. So here we are going to discuss about the merit part first. So the first merit for socialism economies is production according to basic needs. What is meant by this is production is in a socialist economy is mainly directed at producing the basic needs for us, such as the basic need like food, clothing, and building materials. It is not determined by the purchasing power of the rich in society, because in socialist country, the resources and all the decision in economy were determined by government. The phenomenon where the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer does not exist in the socialist country. So the second merit of socialist economy is there is equal distribution of income and wealth. Since the government own all resources and all the economic decisions were made by the government, there is no difference between the rich and the poor. The system provides equal opportunity for all citizens in earning and income. Wealth is also equally distributed since private enterprise is limited. So that's all for the there is the two merits of socialist economy. On to the next part, which is the demerits of socialism. So first of all, the first demerit of socialism economy is the lack of incentive and initiative by individuals. This is because the government does not reward their people if they work harder. So there's no reason for them to work harder since government will distribute all the income fairly to all their people. So in this case, individuals have no profit motive. This will lead to economic inefficiency since jobs are provided by the government and individuals are not motivated to work harder. So next, the merits of socialist economy is loss of economic freedom and consumer sovereignty. Okay, for your information, under a socialist economy, the Central Planning Authority or the government directs all economic activity. By I say there is no choice given to the consumer, and they accept whatever public enterprises produce. There is little variety in the goods and services produced, and availability is restricted. Limited private organization exists in a socialist economy.
Economic system. Question D. Discuss the basic economic problems in a mixed economy. Basic economic problems in a mixed economy are based on what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce. Firstly, what to produce. In a mixed economy, the question of what to produce is decided by both the public and private sectors. The goods produced and the services provided depend on the consideration of social welfare and economic growth. Consumers' preferences influence the production decisions of the firms. Production in the private sector is also controlled and regulated by the government through monetary, fiscal, and price control policies. In the public sector, it is the planning authority that decides what to produce and how much to produce, keeping in mind the overall national objectives. Secondly, how to produce. The public and private sectors will decide on the techniques of production to be used in the production of the different goods and services. In the private sector, the goods provided by businesses make a profit, maximize quality, and minimize cost. However, in the public sector, the services provided by government organizations and hopefully supplied efficiently. The public sector pays the private sector to carry out jobs such as construction, motorways, and so on. Lastly, for whom to produce. The distribution of goods and services is also decided by the public and private sectors. The price mechanism does not fully function in the mixed economies. In many mixed economies, the government intervenes directly through price controls and indirectly through the imposition of indirect taxes and subsidies. In the private sector, the goods sold to anyone who can afford them, while the public sector provided for free paid for by taxes. The public sector also provides for people who cannot work, such as disabled, unemployed, or sick, through the benefit system.